Welcome to a land of corn and beans and grassy pastures where cows explore the immensity of 440 acres. Welcome to my home, the Walters Family Farm.
Farming is a really good way to make a living, and it's a good way to raise a family, because as long as you're willing to work when you can work, and usually you can work enough ahead or work later the next day that you can be a lot more involved with your children when they grow up.
It has been the way of life my dad and grandparents have chosen, but since the 1950s the number of farmers in Iowa have went from above 200,000 to now below 100,000 farms. And this graph shows the number of farms in pink and the average farm size in blue. I went to my grandpa, Sam Walters, to understand the changes affecting this trend.
It impact, back then my dad made 11 on 100 acres with horses. And now when I bought this, I got 120. But it was a hobby farm, really. And I worked at the post office in Des Moines and farmed a farm after I got off work on Saturdays and Sundays. It takes a lot more land now to make a living than it did back then.
The development of tractors and no more dependency on horses was one of the reasons my grandpa started his 120-acre farm. The new farming technologies have also taken the average Iowa farm from 159 acres in 1950 and doubled it to 356 acres today.
Back in the 50s, a big tractor would have been like 65 or 70 horsepower. And today, the tractors run 500, 600 horsepower. You can do so much more in an hour with the machinery that you have. And you can put, and we probably don't put in as many more hours than they did back then, but back in the 50s and the 60s, most guys were sitting out on top of a tractor with no cab and no air, and it wasn't near as enjoyable back then.
Modern conveniences have made their way into tractor cabs in Iowa, including heat, air conditioning, GPS, and other computer devices.
A lot of the technology that's in the equipment anymore is kind of beyond guys my age, and really need some younger guys that know how to deal with computers and screen monitors and stuff better than we do. A lot of these, the newer stuff is, have the auto steer and the auto shut off on ends and stuff, and I think they're actually designing tractors now that are not even designed for operators at all, that will just be a robot that runs off of GPS and computers.
The future of farming is continuing to get more complicated with new developments like auto steering and real-time yield data collection systems. Neighboring farmer Alan Brummel has begun investing into these new devices.
The model I have for auto steer wise, it has a movement of about 6 to 8 inches. So, your line that you're following, through the GPS can vary 6 to 8 inches off. Compared to what you and I can do, that's a whole lot better, So you get a lot more efficiencies that way.
Farming is something that takes large investments in time and money, and these new technologies are only adding to the price tag. Fewer people are taking the risk of getting into the farming business today, but these expensive devices usually pay for themselves.
My best guess, I would say in probably 3 years, I probably got my money back out of it. And now I'm on top, and just the ease and the fatigue factor and stuff, that's awesome, because I can kick back, and if you happen to call me on my cell phone, as I'm going across the field, I don't have to do nothing. I just watch my monitor, kind of glance back at the planter once in a while, and I can visit with you on the phone as I'm going across the field. So, can you eliminate us? Not yet, but the ability to do all that, they're working on it.
To see what the future has in store, we will just have to wait. But for now, for UNI TV, I am Clayton Walters.